A few summers ago, I went for a bike ride around midnight with a friend. We went our separate ways at the end of the evening, and I had about 2 blocks to ride back by myself. Because of construction, I had to ride on the sidewalk, but the streets were dead. But it wasn't a problem until right where I was about to turn left onto my street. There was this man walking by himself, maybe 40s, a little scruffy, but not homeless. The sidewalk was narrow, and I didn't want to freak him out, so when I got about 6 feet behind him, I said, "Hey, behind you." And he turned around and gave me this super angry look. I turned down my street, and he started to follow me, literally screaming about how I was a fucking cunt, and he was going to kill me and all that. I live right off the corner, and I didn't want him to figure that out, so I decided to do another loop around the block. That's not the scary part. The scary part is that when I looped back around and looked down the street, I saw him standing on my fucking front stoop, staring out at the street like the motherfucker knew I lived there. He saw me ride by again, but he didn't say anything. I ended up going back to the friends, but my bike got stolen from the alleyway by the house 2 days later. Edit. The guy in question was definitely not actually homeless. We have a large population of mentally ill in that area, unfortunately downtown of a medium-sized city, so if I didn't think the sidewalk was too narrow to pass otherwise, I wouldn't have disturbed him. Half the scary part was that he looked pretty much completely normal for my area. That being said, I ended up texting my mom, and she made the decision not to notify law enforcement until my bike was stolen. This was silence. A thick, unnatural quiet, like the world was holding its breath. And then I saw him. A silhouette, perched in the gnarled oak just beyond our front yard. At first, my sleep-muddled brain tried to make sense of it. A deer. A trick of the branches. But no. The shape was too deliberate. Too human. A man. Sitting perfectly still in the tree, his outline black against the moonlit sky. My breath hitched. I wanted to scream, to call for my parents, but my voice was gone, locked somewhere deep in my throat. Then the dog reacted. Our German shepherd, Duke, had been asleep at my feet. But in an instant, he was up, his body rigid, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Then, explosive barking, snarling, his claws scraping against the hardwood as he lunged toward the window. That broke the spell. I scrambled off the couch, my legs tangled in the blanket, and sprinted down the hall to my parents' room. I didn't knock, didn't think, just threw open the door and gasped out, "There's someone outside." In the tree, my dad was awake in an instant. He didn't question me, didn't tell me I was dreaming. He just grabbed the baseball bat from beside the bed and was out the door in seconds, Duke barking furiously at his heels. I stayed behind, trembling in my mom's arms, listening to the frantic sounds of my dad shouting into the darkness, Duke's barks echoing back from the trees. Then silence. A long, awful stretch of nothing. Finally, the front door creaked open, and my dad walked back inside, his expression unreadable. "No one out there," he said, setting the bat down. "Probably just a deer. Go back to bed." But his voice was too calm, too measured, and when he exchanged a look with my mom, I knew he had seen something. He just didn't want to scare me. I didn't go back to the living room. Instead, I crawled into my own bed, pulling the covers up to my chin, my pulse still racing. My sister, half asleep, mumbled something, and I whispered what had happened, my voice shaking. "Probably just a raccoon," she muttered, rolling over. But I knew it wasn't. For the next hour, I lay there, listening to my dad pace the house, his footsteps heavy, deliberate. Every so often, I'd hear the soft clink of his coffee cup as he took a sip, the creak of floorboards as he checked the locks. Eventually, The rhythm of his movements lulled me into a false sense of safety. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I imagined it. I closed my eyes, and then a shadow moved outside my window. My breath stopped. There, framed by the glass, was the man, not in the tree this time. Right. Outside. My window. The moonlight caught the sharp angle of his jaw, the hollows of his eyes. And then, slowly, deliberately, he raised a finger to his lips. Shh. And then he turned and ran, not like someone sneaking away, like someone who wanted me to see him leave. I screamed. My parents came running, my dad wrenching open the back door, shouting into the night. But he was gone. No footprints, no sound. Just the empty yard and the trees swaying in the windy. Didn't sleep the rest of the night. And I never slept in the living room again. Years later, when I was in high school, my dad finally admitted the truth. That night, when he went outside, he had seen something. Not a man. But the tree branches, broken, like someone had climbed them. And at the base of the trunk, half buried in the dirt, was a single cigarette butt, still warm. I hope the stories doesn't ruin your sleep entirely. If you're still craving more spooky shit, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like the video to increase views. If you have any stories of your own, feel free to message them to me, and I'll add them in a video and shout you out. Spooky Daddy out.